Another day, another story. Organized warfare appears to have started in the Neolithic Age and then ramped up during the Bronze Age. People have been killing each other since as long as there have been people. Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Yet organized warfare appears not to have sprung up until the Neolithic Age, when certain societies began farming and living in permanent settlements. Archaeological evidence suggests that Neolithic warfare progressed from small-scale clashes and massacres to longer and more sophisticated conflicts. Early humans engaged in warfare in only the very broadest sense. For most of our species' history, it would have been very small, unorganized, decentralized raids very similar to what you see in chimpanzees, says Luke Glowacki, an assistant professor of anthropology at Boston University, and an expert on the evolution of war. During this time, he says, a group of individuals might encounter someone from another group and kill them. The exact timeline of when humans began waging wars is difficult to pinpoint, as early human societies did not keep written records, and evidence of ancient conflicts is often scarce and ambiguous. However, archaeological and anthropological studies suggest that organized violent conflicts between groups of humans have likely existed for tens of thousands of years. Some of the earliest evidence of interpersonal violence and possible warfare comes from prehistoric skeletal remains. For example, the discovery of skulls with signs of violent injuries in sites such as Nataruk in Kenya, dated to around 10,000 years ago, indicates that early humans were engaged in lethal interpersonal conflicts. As humans transitioned from nomadic lifestyles to settled agricultural communities, competition for resources such as land, water, and food likely escalated, potentially leading to more organized and large-scale conflicts. The development of civilizations and the formation of city-states in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, around 3500–2500 BCE, also likely saw the emergence of organized warfare. The first historical accounts of wars can be found in ancient texts and artifacts from civilizations such as Sumeria, Egypt, and ancient China, dating back to around 3000 BCE. These records describe conflicts between city-states, kingdoms, and empires, providing evidence of organized military campaigns and strategies. In summary, while early humans likely engaged in interpersonal violence and small-scale conflicts for tens of thousands of years, organized warfare on a larger scale likely began to emerge with the rise of settled agricultural societies and the formation of early civilizations around 10,000 to 5,000 years ago. Rise of agriculture, rise of warfare. Roughly 12,000 years ago, agriculture emerged in the Fertile Crescent, and population densities increased even in areas without crops. Agriculture is not required for warfare, Glowacki says, but it certainly does facilitate it. To date, researchers have found no definitive evidence that organized warfare predates the so-called Neolithic Revolution. Basic warfare, however, is known to have broken out soon after. A 2016 study, for example, concluded that a massacre took place some 10,000 years ago near Lake Turkana in Kenya, with the victims showing signs of bound hands, arrow wounds and fractured skulls. I consider this to be the most reliable early evidence of a massacre, says Glowacki, who was not involved in the study. These are hunter-gatherers, but with some food storage and likely lower mobility. He points out that massacres require more coordination and planning than tit-for-tat raiding, that they're indicative of more severe war, and that they tend to occur when humans transition from mobile to sedentary lifestyles. In present-day Germany, a massacre took place some 7,000 years ago, when attackers apparently tortured their victims, in part by breaking their shin bones, prior to killing them. Similar Neolithic massacres have been uncovered elsewhere in Germany and Austria, as well as in Croatia and France. Meanwhile, the inhabitants of Jericho, among the oldest cities in the world, built city walls around 8000 BC, seemingly to keep out invaders. As noted in a November 2023 study in the journal Scientific Reports, such Neolithic conflicts were presumed to be a mixture of rapid assaults or short raids, generally lasting no more than a few days and affecting no more than 20 or 30 individuals. Extended fighting begins more than 5,000 years ago. As it turns out, though, at least some later Neolithic fighting may have been more complex than previously realized. According to the study, which analyzed the skeletal remains of 338 individuals who died in northern Spain 5,400 to 5,000 years ago. These remains, accidentally unearthed by a bulldozer in 1985, were originally believed to constitute another Neolithic massacre. Yet by looking closer at the skeletal injuries, which disproportionately affected males and were largely non-fatal, something not observed at other Neolithic mass fatality sites in Europe, the study's authors determined that a protracted struggle had lasted months or years. "We think we are seeing the result of a regional intergroup conflict," lead author Teresa Fernández Crespo, an archaeologist at the University of Valladolid in Spain, tells History in an email. She adds that resource competition and social complexity could have been a source of tension, potentially escalating into lethal violence. As the Neolithic progressed, advances in agriculture may have gone hand in hand with advances in warfare. Because they had to cooperate to irrigate the land, the idea of working together and cooperating also gave rise to armies, says Alfred S. Bradford, chair in ancient history at the University of Oklahoma, and author of With Arrow, Sword, and Spear, A History of Warfare in the Ancient World. And, of course, they had a lot to defend because they were defending their farmland. Copper tools and weapons began to replace stone arrowheads, spear tips, blades and axes in the Middle East and elsewhere. By the time the Bronze Age arrived around 3300 BC, early civilizations in Mesopotamia and North Africa had developed large armies with formal leaders, chains of command, distinct units and supply systems. These civilizations, literate and artistically inclined, could document their military campaigns. The so-called Standard of Ur, for instance, depicts an advancing Sumerian army, with wheeled wagons and infantry, from around 2500 BC, whereas the Narmer palette highlights an Egyptian conquest from around 3000 BC. Outside of Greece, large-scale combat took longer to arrive in Europe. But by around 1200 BC a battle along the Talents River in Germany involved perhaps 4,000 combatants. Armies likewise developed in places like Peru, Mexico and China. Throughout the world, warfare had begun to resemble what it is today. Echoes of the first battle. In a time when the world was still young, and humanity's footsteps marked the earth with cautious curiosity, there existed two neighboring tribes, the Sun Clan and the Moon Tribe. They lived harmoniously for generations, sharing the bounty of the land and the wisdom of the stars. But as their tribes grew, so did their needs, and the once plentiful resources began to dwindle. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting the world into shadows, whispers of discontent rustled through the tribes. The elders of the Sun Clan and the Moon Tribe gathered under the ancient tree of wisdom, its branches heavy with the weight of countless tales. Among the elders was a young visionary named Alara, whose eyes sparkled with both curiosity and fear. Alara had a dream, a vision of a great conflict that would sweep across the land, changing the tribes forever. She shared her vision with the gathered elders, who listened in somber silence. The old chief of the Sun Clan, a wise man named Eldon, spoke first. "War is not our way," he said, his voice steady but filled with concern. "But if it comes to us, we must be prepared to defend our people." The Moon Tribe's elder, a kind-hearted woman named Selene, nodded in agreement. "We must seek a way to prevent this conflict, to find peace before the drums of war echo through our valleys." Inspired by Alara's vision, the elders of both tribes embarked on a journey, traveling together to the sacred mountain where the first humans were said to have walked. There, they sought the guidance of the ancient spirits, hoping to uncover a path to harmony. After days of meditation and communion with the spirits, a revelation came to them, a pact, a sacred agreement to share the land's resources equitably, to honor the earth that sustained them, and to resolve disputes through dialogue and understanding. Upon returning to their tribes, the elders shared the sacred pact. The Sun Clan and the Moon Tribe embraced the agreement, and a newfound era of cooperation and peace began. The drums of war fell silent, and the people lived in harmony, their shared history becoming a reminder of the strength that could be found in unity. And so, the tale of the first vision and the sacred pact passed through generations, a reminder of humanity's capacity for empathy and collaboration, a beacon of hope that echoed through the ages, inspiring future civilizations to seek understanding over conflict. Sands of Unity. In the heart of a vast desert, where the scorching sun painted the dunes gold and the winds whispered ancient secrets, two nomadic tribes, the sand dancers and the oasis keepers, roamed the arid expanse in search of water and sustenance. For years, the tribes coexisted peacefully, their paths crossing like fleeting mirages in the shimmering heat. One summer, when the oasis waters dwindled, tension gripped the tribes. The scarcity of resources cast a shadow over their harmonious existence. Fearing the looming conflict, a young sand dancer named Farida embarked on a daring journey to seek guidance from the mythical desert oracle, a revered seer said to possess the wisdom of the sands. Farida crossed vast dunes and treacherous rocky terrain until she reached the hidden cave of the desert oracle. With reverence, she asked, "How can my people and the oasis keepers find peace and share the blessings of this unforgiving land?" The desert oracle, an elderly woman with eyes like ancient constellations, spoke of a forgotten relic buried beneath the sands, the Heartstone of Unity. Legend had it that the Heartstone possessed the power to quell conflicts and nurture cooperation among tribes. With newfound determination, Farida returned to her tribe and shared the oracle's words. Together with Qadr, a wise oasis keeper, they embarked on a quest to unearth the Heartstone of Unity. Their journey was perilous, filled with sandstorms and mirages that tested their resolve. After days of relentless searching, they discovered the Heartstone, a brilliant gem pulsating with an otherworldly light. As they touched the stone, an energy surged through them, filling their hearts with empathy and understanding. With the Heartstone in their possession, Farida and Qadr returned to their tribes, sharing the gift of unity. The tribes, mesmerized by the stone's aura, agreed to form a pact. They established an oasis where both tribes could peacefully coexist, sharing water, knowledge, and the bounties of the desert. Under the shade of palm trees, the sand dancers and the oasis keepers forged an unbreakable bond. The Heartstone of Unity became a symbol of their harmony, reminding them that even in the harshest landscapes, compassion could flourish, and cooperation could overcome the greatest challenges. And so, the tribes thrived, their story echoing across the desert, inspiring neighboring nomads to seek unity amidst diversity. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel.